Five Nights with EscapedFred Story 2. You guys are, I already got some of you guys with the April Fool's prank, I know that, but this is the real story this time. No more pranks, no more jokes. This is the real chapter of Five Nights with EscapedFred 2. Now, I want you guys to pay attention to this one, as the sequel may get confusing to all of you. I know I haven't introduced every single character that's going to be in here, but I'm trying my best to make sure the story's good enough for everyone to watch. Now, as I'm planning on the chapter right now, this video is just give you guys a heads up for chapter 1. If you guys don't want me to do chapter 1, I guess I'll just won't do it anymore. I'll just stop doing this Five Nights with EscapedFred story if you guys, if this is what you guys want. Because I know that some of you guys are not really fond of it and don't really get what's the story of it. Now, I know I said I was going to do the chapter in this video, but I'm still trying to remember things very well. And I'm making sure that the story is going to be very good and make sure it's going to be very awesome for all of you. Now, if this does become a movie one day, if it ever does, cross my fingers, I really want it to. If it ever does, then I'm going to be on the big screen for you guys. I'll make sure the movie is as good as possible if it ever does happen. But I don't know if I'll be able to include, some people in my story. Like, you know, they don't like doing face reveals. Some of those people are my friends. Well, you already know Thomas the Gamer and Morgan the Mighty have already shown their faces truly. So yeah, I know how to get a hold of my friend Thomas the Gamer if I need him. I know how to get a hold of my friend Morgan the Mighty if I need him. Or Morgan the Art Guy, sorry. That's his new channel. Now, chapter 1. If you guys don't know how the story is, I'll refresh it. I'll do the thing for you. I'll give you some, like, refreshments of how the story is, so you guys can, it makes more sense to you all. So I'm basically, as the story begins in chapter 1, I'm a normal person, just got done doing college and school and all that stuff. About to head home to my roommates Thomas Gamer and Morgan the Art Guy. Until I come across a book on the ground, but the title of it's ripped off, and it belonged to Rick, the dude who wrote the book. But he didn't really think the spells that he wrote in there were going to be true. And the spells that are in the book are said backwards, which is why you guys heard this in the trailer. What did I just say? I have no idea. I just made it up as it goes on. You're probably wondering, doesn't this copy off Child's Play since you're sacrificing someone? No, Chucky isn't sacrificing anyone. He's trying to transfer his soul into the doll. And I trying to mix. You probably wonder, why did you add thunderclouds in? But that's how every sacrifice is going. There's going to be thunderclouds. There's going to be lightning and all that stuff. Let's get back to the story I'm talking about. I read the book, but I don't find it entertaining anymore, and I throw it away. Or I think I changed it up a little. I burned it. I actually burned the book. I didn't throw it away. Yes, and I burned the book, and me and like Thomas the Gamer Morgan no. I was gonna say we had s'mores, but that would make it like really dumb. Yeah, I just burned it outside and just left it there, throw it in the garbage can, you know. It probably would have been done burning by then. Anyways, but then an adult hater named Frank Smith, has hated my channel for like years and years now, and he wanted to put a stop to my videos because he hates them so much. Because, you know, Frank's a dummy. He wants to freaking stop me from recording videos because obviously he starts drama, and I told him and the reason why he's doing this because I told him to get a life when he made like a video about me. But the problem is, I don't know Frank. I did not know that. Me in the story doesn't know that that's his name, Frank Smith. His YouTuber name was snap. I forgot what it was called. But this was all supposed to be in the new chapter, but I didn't want to remake the chapter yet. I wanted to do it after I was done with the sequel, because then I had to like delete chapter 1 and then say chapter 1 remastered. Nope. Anyways, it was called like super cool. No. I don't know what his YouTube channel was. I forgot. I'll have to make up a good name for it. Oh, yeah, I know. It was called Detective. Something called Detective. I don't know. It's Detective something. Something called. Crap. It had something to do with Finance of Freddy's. I just know that. Detective. Oh, Detective Afton. Yeah. Actually, no. I'm gonna have to change that up because I don't want. If this does become a movie, I'm not gonna get that copyrighted of Scott Cawthon's game. So instead of Detective Afton, his name is gonna be Detective. Just gonna be called. It was called The Detective. That's all. Don't ask why I came up with that name. I just did. So yeah. So basically, he's mad because I told him to get a like in that video. So obviously, he finds my location, and then grabs a knife or something, and then freaking goes off to my location. And he also puts on gloves so they don't find the murder weapon and all that stuff. But then throughout the years, throughout the entire day, ever since I read the book, my soul's been getting, me and the story's been giving me like these chest pains. And that was my soul becoming corrupted by the spells that were in the book. But it was supposed to possess me, but it didn't possess me because I was not dead. I hadn't died. The only way the possession will work if I was dead. So I go to sleep, and then I hear a noise that brings me out back. So I wake up my roommates, Morgan, the art guy, and Tom's the gamer, asking if they heard that noise. And they said no, they didn't hear anything. So I'm brave enough to go out back with a flashlight to see what's going on out back. And then I see one of the trash cans tipped over, and I go to pick it up, and I go back inside, and then I see Frank just standing there, but I don't know that's him. And my flashlight went out for a second. Before I could turn it back on, he slit my throat wide open, and then I fell backward and fell down my brick staircase. If you want to know what that means, I'm talking about my concrete staircase. Yeah, and then I hit the concrete floor in my backyard and busted my head wide open. And then Frank buried me in a pile of leaves so no one would find me. Until one of my neighbors smelled something bad, and then he went to see it was coming from my backyard, and then he found my body there. And then there was a funeral. Everyone was there. Morgan, the art guy, Mr. Gamer, my family, my friends, everyone. But then the storm comes coming in, but it's not a storm anyone has ever seen. It was just thundering and lightning and all that stuff, until a lightning strike hits my grave, but no one sees it. But then the government wants my body digging up so they can take it to a morgue to find any evidence about the killer. And of course, Frank Smith is the detective there. And so that's why his name is the detective on YouTube, because he's actual detective in real life. I mean, he likes recording videos in his spare time. But the police were wondering where was Frank after the incident, but he just told him that he was off doing something with his wife. He didn't have time to. He said something about his wife being sick, and he had to take care of her, and he couldn't come in. So they take him to a morgue, and then Officer Ben's looking through EscapedFred's body, see if he can find anything, until Frank gets a duty call. Until Frank's been dismissed from the police department because of him messing up the call, because him missing too many he wasn't dismissed, he was fired over because because Morgan called Frank on the phone, but Frank didn't get there to help, and so Morgan was just standing outside waiting for someone because he found out that I was dead. But Frank didn't come because he hated my channel. So that's why Frank got fired. But even the weirdest thing is because Frank's the one who killed me in the first place, so that's why he didn't come. So then he calls the police instead of him because I don't know. And that's why he's been dismissed as a cop. No, wait, is that how you went the story? No. Frank went home. No, Frank went home. I'm totally offline here. I'm thinking about this thing becoming a movie. So basically, Frank goes home because he's off duty now. Then he goes home to his wife, Sam Smith. But then Frank gets on our call saying that they need him for something back at the station. While Frank's gone, Officer Ben's still checking out EscapedFred's body and then finds nothing. But then takes a DNA test of the blood. Then goes on and puts the blood in his computer and starts searching through the blood files. But then he finds nothing. He realizes there was like a handprint of blood on EscapedFred's side of EscapedFred's face. So he goes to check that out as well. But then before he could do that, the body's gone. I'm literally just hiding somewhere, and then he turns around and sees me there. And then I quick him in the paint, but then I tear his heart out of his own body and then place him in the body bag, thinking that the body's still there. And then I leave the place. I leave the morgue, and then I kill anyone that was in my way. But then while Frank Smith was on the way out, EscapedFred realized that the knife fell out. And then he noticed a knife on the floor next to Frank's locker. No. Crap. I should have said this in chapter 2, but I didn't think of it in time. So EscapedFred realized there's blood coming out of Frank Smith's locker. So he busts it open and finds there's a knife there. But he doesn't know that Frank Smith's the one that killed him. But because how the corruption works is that EscapedFred kills anyone in his path. The demon just wants to be set free because the demon in the book has been like corrupted by darkness. But the demon's the one's not talking. It's actually EscapedFred that's actually taking control of the demon. But then EscapedFred finds out that he doesn't realize that Frank Smith's the one that killed him, but he wants to kill Frank because it's a demon. Demons kill people. So he finds the address so he searches up Frank's address on the computer and then goes to find him, only to realize that Frank wasn't there, only his wife Sam. And EscapedFred was poking around Frank Smith's house while Sam was there. She realized she saw a figure running outside the kitchen window. She opened up the window and looked outside and saw someone running around in the shadows. She thought it was raccoons or squirrels or something like that, but then she hears a window breaking from her apartment door. But then when she goes to check it out, EscapedFred runs but when she finds out that nothing's there, she goes back to the kitchen to continue like cooking dinner or something. Until EscapedFred makes her hallucinate, thinking that the kitchen's like an endless hallway. Like a really huge hallway that's endless, and they like keep stretching out further. Until EscapedFred appears out of nowhere and then charges at Sam completely. He kills her and hears her screaming. Frank Smith got home quickly because he heard... No. Frank Smith got home by then. Goes to find Sam not around the house anywhere. Until he saw blood dripping from the attic. He went to open it and then found Sam's face completely ripped off. Frank Smith screaming in terror as he went to get the phone until he hears a weird voice on the phone. Until he hears like whispering in the phone, which was the spell that It was EscapedFred talking backwards to Frank. Frank gets scared and then hangs up the phone to realize that something's going on inside his house. He's hearing noises and seeing dark figurines running around his house, almost looking like a shadow. Well, only with eyes. The only thing showing is the white pupils of the eyes. Which sometimes EscapedFred doesn't show his eyes sometimes. Sometimes he just shows dark eyes and sometimes his eyes are completely red. Kind of like an animatronic, which I'll get to that in a second. Until Frank Smith grabs out his gun and he goes searching around the house where the finger is. Until, all out of nowhere, he gets stabbed in the back, but still alive. Until EscapedFred trips him on the ground and starts slashing his chest. But then when Frank Smith turns around, he sees him there. And then he starts shooting at EscapedFred, only to find out that the bullets don't have any effect on EscapedFred. Yeah, never mind, alright. So then EscapedFred jams Frank's fingers in the toast. No, wait, Frank Smith tries to fight EscapedFred, but EscapedFred still doesn't know that Frank's the one that killed him. Will he ever find out? Who knows? That's up to me. So Frank Smith tries to fight EscapedFred, but every time he tries to fight him, EscapedFred dodges completely quickly, and EscapedFred gets attacked on him. Frank Smith then grabs the toast off the counter and tries to hit him with it, but then EscapedFred grabs it and then jams his fingers in it. Like literally, he presses down on his fingers and jams them in, and then turns on the toast and fries it. Frank Smith starts saying sorry, but EscapedFred doesn't know what he means by that. But then Frank Smith gets terrified, and then he still doesn't realize his hand's still stuck in the toaster. But then he doesn't realize that the puddle of water in the sink. So then Frank Smith's when his hand that the toaster was in slips in, and then he gets electrocuted. I know I made Frank's death when he fell out the window, but I changed that because, honestly, I watched this movie called Silent Santa something, and I like the kill count on Dead Meat. I saw the one where this weird killer Santa wears a Santa mask thing, then tases her to death and then stabs her. So I wanted to make Frank's death like that. So I made him. So EscapedFred jams his head into a toaster, then he slips and then one of Frank Smith's trying to back up against the counter, his hand slips into the puddle of water in the sink. So then he gets electrocuted, frying him to death. Well, he's not dead. He's actually in a coma. I know it said that he was dead, but the cops think he's dead because they don't check his pulse. Actually, they do check his pulse, but he's not breathing, but they don't know he's in a coma. So basically Frank got 2,000 bolts running through his entire body, and caused him head trauma, causing him to go into a coma. But then while Frank was on the phone, while EscapedFred was taking over the line where he was calling the police still got the call, and then the police started coming towards the location. But then, while Frank Smith was killing EscapedFred, he snuck into EscapedFred's house before he left and stole his hat. So that's why Frank Smith had EscapedFred's hat. So then EscapedFred grabs it and then puts it on and then leaves before the police showed up. And then we get introduced to Scarlett, Michael, and Stacy Benson. Stacy Benson is the main person of this movie because she's important to EscapedFred because she says his real name. But then all of a sudden she hears creepy noises around. She sees EscapedFred around the house, in her bedroom, in her closet, and all that other stuff. But her parents think that she's going insane, but they don't put her in a psychological home like Child's Play did with Andy Barkley. As you can see, Andy was put in a weird hospital asylum thing, where people thought he was crazy because he said that his doll was alive. But they don't do. But Stacy, no, Scarlett and Michael don't go that way with their daughter because they don't want that. They only want what's best for her, like Scarlett said in the trailer, or in the final. No. And I don't know which chapter it was. So then, while Stacy's at school, she sees EscapedFred running around outside with his dark eyes. And there were sometimes, if this ever does become a movie, there's going to be some times where my eyes are red and sometimes where my eyes are like completely dark. You know, it shows nothing but darkness in my eyes. You know how, like in scary movies, like it shows no pupils or anything, just dark eyes. Take Freddy's example. Like, you know, he has like dot eye. He has like, you can see like little tiny pupils in his eyes. But then like say if he had a pencil and you erase the white pupils on his eyes, and then there's just nothing but dark in there. Like there's like no eyes at all. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. And I don't think this will ever become a FNAF fan game because you're not surviving anywhere. You're just, oh yeah, Stacy says EscapedFred's real name, and he only has, but then something triggers in EscapedFred's head, and then he realizes a way like. There's like a secret voice in his head saying like, sacrifice her, 5, sacrifice 5. And then EscapedFred quickly puts that together. He realized he has to sacrifice Stacy, and he only has 5 nights to do it. So that's why it's called 5 Nights with EscapedFred. So then EscapedFred tries to get Stacy at school, and and he does this for like a couple of days, and that's why the nights are going by fast because he's just wasting his time instead of just going in and getting her. But then on the final night, night 4, Scarlett and Michael get called into the principal's office because Stacy's been acting weird at school. So they take her home, and then, well, they don't punish her. They're just disappointed in her because she keeps saying that she's seeing EscapedFred around her school, but they don't believe her. But then to cheer her up, Michael takes her out to get some lunch to get her mind off it, while Scarlett stays behind and cooks them dinner. It's weird how they're just going out to get lunch and then Scarlett comes home. Because it's a long drive to the place, so it's going to be like nighttime before they get back. But then Scarlett realized that EscapedFred's around the house somewhere, and then she actually sees him for a quick second until he disappears. And then she realized that Stacy wasn't joking after all, so he tells him to come out, but EscapedFred won't. And so, but then Scarlett has this idea to like hack into EscapedFred's channel because he knows her. Somehow he finds out his real name, but she doesn't say it. And then he finds his Gmail, and then she hacks into his channel and threatens to delete it if he doesn't come out. That's when EscapedFred attacks Scarlett and bits her on the arm. Now you probably wonder, yeah, this is one scene from Child's Play taken out. No, it's not because Chucky only bit Andy's in the arm. He didn't take a chunk out of her arm. But then I disappear again. Then she's about to call for help. But then EscapedFred stops her and then puts her near the oven, trying to burn her face. Until Scarlett, when she was cooking double-boiled eggs, so that's why she was cooking spaghetti. But then that's when she grabbed the boiling hot water pot and splashes it on his face. And EscapedFred's face is boiling up so fastly. Then she I don't know, they were building like some kind of they were like trying to build like something with bricks in it. But then she grabs a brick off. Michael was trying to fix something in like a hole in Stacy's wall, so he's trying to like put bricks around it. And then like cover it with paint, and then Scarlett grabs that brick and smashes it against EscapedFred's head, which causes his head to bust open completely wide. Like as soon as if this was a movie, when Scarlett hits me in the face, there's gonna be like blood splatter all over the floor. I'm gonna be bleeding out freaking fast. And if those parts are on YouTube, they're gonna get age restricted. I'm just gonna tell you that. It's gonna be so gruesome. Then Scarlett calls Michael and Stacy to come back now. But then Scarlett shows them the body's gone. And then an officer shows up because he hears because the neighbors called the cops because all the commotion is going around. And then he sees that there's blood on the ground. and he thinks like Mike like hurt her, so he threatens to shoot Mike. But then Scarlet starts getting in, and he threatens to shoot her as well. And he's like near the front door, telling them to step back. And then he tells them to put their hands up, but EscapedFred tears his heart out. Then he turns around, and then EscapedFred bashes in his head in with his foot. And then he says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna kill all of you." Then he tries to, then Michael tries to shoot EscapedFred, and then he grabs Stacy, and then he like disappears. And then that's when we get introduced to Rick for the very freaking first time. Why did we get introduced to Rick when basically we never heard of him? Well, Rick was actually seen in the beginning when I grabbed the book, and then that's when he tries to go back and gets it, but then he realizes it's gone. But then he sees everything happening in Stacy and Scarlet and Michael's front yard. Then he realized that EscapedFred read the book, and that's when Scarlet and Michael are trying to find out where he took her. But then then Stacy's like blacked out when she gets to the spot that she's trying to sacrifice him, because when EscapedFred grabbed her, he knocked her out. Then Rick tells Scarlet and Michael what's going on, but they don't believe anything that he's saying. They think it's just him going crazy, but they don't notice the red eyes. They just think it's like they think that's just like some kind of trick. And then he takes them to her, takes him where he is, and then they see thunder in the sky. That means EscapedFred's about to sacrifice her and all that stuff. And then he grabs he breaks off a piece of a tombstone and then smashes my head. No, he picks up a gravestone and then like smashes my head over it with it. No, actually, he breaks off a piece and then smashes my head in with it. And then Rick grabs Stacy and gives them the Mike and Scarlet and tells them to leave right now. But then EscapedFred attacks Rick. And then it turns to a huge fight. Michael's attacked by EscapedFred, so is Scarlet. Michael tries to shoot EscapedFred, but then EscapedFred smacks the gun out of his hand. And then Scarlet tries to pull EscapedFred off of Mike, and then he like attacks her instead. And bites her arm again. But then he's about to finish both of them off until Stacy shoots EscapedFred in the back. Actually, there was going to be one part where Stacy Michael instead of her shooting EscapedFred, Michael actually grabbed before they went to find Stacy. Michael goes in the kitchen and grabs some acid that he bought from like some kind of chemical place or something. And then and then he smashes it against EscapedFred's face. And then EscapedFred's face starts to melt, and that's when he bites Scarlet. And then he gets on her arm too, and that's how that's why her arm gets chunks taken out so easy, because one, the acid fell on it, and two, he bit her. And that's when Stacy shoots EscapedFred in the back. Then he's about to charge against Stacy, but then he realizes his grave is like right there. No one plugged up his grave because they didn't think they would need the body anymore. So then Stacy shoots him in the eye, and then he falls back into his grave. Then Michael grabs a grenade and then throws it in EscapedFred's grave, and then he's about to run away until EscapedFred grabs him down, and he says if I'm dying, then you're coming down with me. And then he pulls Mike down into the grave, and then a huge explosion happens, and then killing Michael and EscapedFred. Then the police arrive at the scene of the crime, but they couldn't find anything what happened, so they take Scarlet and Stacy to a hospital for questioning and help, until an unknown person grabs EscapedFred's hat. So yeah, that's the entire. So that was me explaining how the first story was, how it was going, and that's how I explained it to all of you. So yeah, I was gonna do chapter 1 in this video for the sequel, but this took up too much time. I will do chapter 1 will be out today, I promise. And if I break that promise, then I'll do it tomorrow. But if I don't do it, actually, it will be out today, I promise. Well, I don't think I can promise it. I don't know if I can make a promise because sometimes I forget to do it. Because I got hit in the head. I got hit in the head with a trunk door, and I got hit in the head with a basketball. And I got hit in the head with a basketball when I was in middle school, and when I was a kid, I got hit in the head with a trunk. So I don't remember stuff easily. That doesn't mean I forget. I don't know if this. I don't know. Forget it. Anyways, that's how. So that was how the first story was. And if this ever becomes a movie, I hope you guys will enjoy it. So thank you all so much for listening, and I'll see you in a little bit for chapter 1. Keep an eye out. Peace out, my Freddles.